Hello, how's it going? Welcome to my E3 2016 Bethesda predictions. So last year, Bethesda had their first E3 conference ever, and it was an astounding success. This year, I think it will be very good, but have a very different feel to it. Last year was hugely based on Fallout 4, with about 30 minutes going into it, and then shorter 5 to 10-ish minute time periods going to other games like Doom, Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Legends, and Dishonored 2. This year, there is no huge game with the popularity of Fallout that will be revealed. What I mean by this is there will not be an Elder Scrolls 6 or new IP or other big announcement from Bethesda Game Studios. They just released Fallout 4, and there are a small teams still making DLC for it, meaning the next game is far off. Some people might ask, what about the new smaller Bethesda Game Studios? Well, that studio was just built. Because of its even smaller size, I see that studio as one that will make smaller games based around Bethesda properties. Instead of Bethesda Game Studios announcing a new game, they will instead reveal the second phase of the Fallout 4 DLC. Similarly to when they announced the first 3 pieces of DLC all at once, each of them being a month apart, I think it will happen again at the conference. But I do not think it will be 3 pieces of DLC. Instead, I think there will be 2 large $15-ish story-based DLCs, instead of the one small, one huge, and the small workshop DLC. I most strongly believe there will not be a small workshop DLC because of the negative reception to that. Instead, there will be more workshop items included into the 2 bigger DLCs. While there will not be an Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, the conference will still have a lot of Elder Scrolls. There should be some talk of the latest Elder Scrolls Online expansion because it came out on PC already, but come out for consoles a few days after the press conference. Also, just like last year, where there was Fallout Shelter that released during the show, I think Elder Scrolls Legends will fit that similar role, have its release date announced as that night during the show. Lastly, is this the year Skyrim Remaster is released? Last year, Dishonored Remastered came out to get Dishonored fans to be able to wait for Dishonored 2. Because Elder Scrolls 6 isn't coming soon, a Skyrim Remaster would not fit that similar role. But there isn't a remaster that would make sense as that role, as there isn't a great Wolfenstein game from last gen that would make sense to remaster to compensate for a Wolfenstein 2 coming, but more on that later. So without that, even though it doesn't fit the exact same role as last year's remaster, I do think that Skyrim Remastered will be announced and released in August just like Dishonored Remastered did last year. So now without a giant announcement, the biggest game of the show will be Dishonored 2. The game is releasing in November and is their big fall game, and there has not been a gameplay demo yet, or gameplay trailer yet, for it, so I expect a big 10 to 15 minute gameplay demo to be a huge section of their show. It's not as big of a blowout of info like last year was for Fallout 4, where it was about 30 minutes, but that's because Dishonored isn't nearly as popular as Fallout. So a lengthy but not overly long demo makes the most sense because they also need room for a lot more games to cover in this about hour and a half long press conference. Now the game that I think will take the last year's CJ trailer announcement spot in the conference is Wolfenstein 2. It'll be similar to last year where Dishonored 2 was announced just with a next year release date and a CG trailer. I think that'll happen with Wolfenstein. Because Wolfenstein The New Order, made by Machine Games, came out early 2014, and now it's been a little over 2 years since that game came out. So I see it being announced now would be perfect timing for it to then be maybe the fall 2017 game. Similar to Dishonored 2 is the fall 2016 game that was announced last year. Another game that's similar to Wolfenstein and is a sequel that is definitely in development is The Evil Within 2. So both those games came out in 2014, where The Evil Within came out later 2014 while Wolfenstein was in the spring. And partially because of that slight time difference and the Japanese developer, I see Evil Within 2 being revealed at Tokyo Game Show in Japan in September because of the Japanese game developer and their presence in Japan. So some of the other sequels that people are thinking about being announced possibly that are kind of crazy, I don't see anything being announced. Like these games include Rage 2, Wet 2, Rogue Warrior 2, things like that they just had one game that wasn't very successful, and it would not make sense for them to do a sequel right now with all their successes in some of their new franchise like Dishonored, and then the new Doom reboot. It wouldn't make sense to put people towards Rogue Warrior 2. So another game that some people are hoping is announced, but I don't see any chance of it, is a new Quake. With the success of Doom, I do believe there will be a Quake reboot eventually, but Doom just released, and even if they end up with id Software not developing it so that they can make a Doom 2 it is still too early because the success of this new Doom is most likely determining whether or not they bring Quake back. So because Doom has been fairly successful, I think there will be a Quake reboot eventually, but there's no chance of it being announced here. Instead of a Quake reboot, I think it will come out and talk about the Doom DLC, because there hasn't been much detailed talk of it yet. They did come out and say that there's going to be 3 pieces, all $15 each, and they would have like 3 maps, a weapon, a new demon, stuff like that. But I think now they're going to go in and show some of the new maps that are, say, in the first DLC they've already said is coming out in the summer. Another game that I think will be shown, but people might not really care about, is Battlecry, where they had a little on Battlecry last year, but then later, 2015, I think in October, Bethesda came out and said they're reevaluating the game because they think it doesn't match their standards. So because of that, I think they've put a lot of work into it to change it up, to get to the standard that they want, and because of that, it'll be an early 2017 game. It'll look fairly different from when it was shown last at their conference last year. And then the last prediction I have is I believe Prey 2 will be re-revealed and Back from the Dead. As some rumors have said, it is being made by Arcane Austin, while Arcane Studios and Lions is making Dishonored 2. So then I think Prey 2 will be a spring 2017 game to give Bethesda 2 big games in 2017, and Wolfenstein in the fall and Prey 2 in the spring. Just like this year, there was Doom in the spring and Dishonored in the fall. So those are my predictions. If anyone has any of their own predictions, put them down in the comments. Make sure to check out some other videos and look out for more E3 predictions in the upcoming weeks. See you next time.